Hi, I'm Gigi, an ex-Amazon bar raiser here at Day One Careers. This video is one of a series that we're putting together so you can hear from current Amazonians about their journey to Amazon and their interview experience. Obviously, this channel is packed with our advice and best practices, but as I've explained many times, the Amazon interview process isn't completely homogeneous. People have varied experiences and approaches. So, we've been talking to current Amazonians to get their stories. Now, just one thing I will say is that some of the strategies deployed by the people that I interviewed wouldn't necessarily be strategies that we'd advise, but it worked for them. So I'm sharing them with you and you can draw your own conclusions. I hope you enjoy meeting them as much as I did.
Hi, Isaac. How are you doing?
Pretty good.
I'm sorry, everyone. Straight face. We've had so many technical problems. This is like our third go at it, and we were trying to straighten our faces out and pretend like we haven't just been panicking trying to make this work. And clearly, we're useless actors. Don't give up your job at Amazon to become an actor, Isaac. And clearly,
I couldn't hold a straight face. It's fine.
Okay. Totally unprofessional, Gigi. Put it together. Right. So I'm going to ask you for the third time, although it'd be the first time for everyone else watching this. Tell us what you do at Amazon, Isaac.
All right. So I'm an IT support associate 2, and I work in the ITSC team, which is IT support engineering.
Which is obviously incredibly helpful because whilst we were just having technical problems, I was walking me through it. So at least it's a great person to have my technical problems with. And then next time I'll just do plug the Ethernet in for everyone and it'll be sorted. Awesome. So really important job, just so that everyone kind of understands. When you are in kind of an Amazon building and you've got your IT equipment and obviously you've got everything that's kind of hardware into the floors and the walls, and then you've got your laptop and all that. There's these really, really important people who always seem to be on lunch whenever I had problems with my laptop. They would be on lunch. They would have finished. It's probably my timing, but I think they had a lot of lunch in the office in London. Maybe not the case in Seattle, but Principal Place lunch was long. Anyway, important people that make sure the whole organization just kind of keeps going, because without your tech, as we've just discovered in the past couple of minutes, it ain't gonna work for you. So
not at all.
Not at all. So special, important people. So on that note then, could you just tell everyone kind of your journey towards Amazon? Kind of what were you doing before? What made you decide that Amazon was the place to be next?
All right. So I guess I'll give a little background. I've always been interested in either a FANG company or now Bang, because Facebook to Meta. But I would always watch YouTube videos of the day in the lives. And I was like, one of these days I'll make it to one of those buildings. I don't know which one, but one of these days. Well, I picked up a contracting job working in IT support at Premier Blue Cross. And then as my contract was coming to an end, I got on LinkedIn and was just looking for anything else to move to. Essentially, I thought I just moved to another contract. I didn't even expect to get something full time. And then a recruiter from Amazon hit me up on LinkedIn. And I was like, sure, I'll apply. All right, if you want me to, no problem. I wasn't really thinking about it. I hadn't put 2 and 2 together that this is the stuff I've been looking at on YouTube. This is the stuff I've been really wanting to get into, because for some reason, the first thought that would come to mind for Amazon is warehouse or delivery driver. I mean, obviously there's a tech side, but it just was not registering right away. So I went through the process, went to their interview, and they liked me because now I'm here.
Which is funny because the Amazon is so many different things. You think about, because like you say, there's the warehouses and there's retail. Obviously, there's AWS. There's Amazon Care, which is the healthcare. There's Project Kuiper, and they're putting satellites in the sky. There's Amazon. There's Amazon Air, and they're obviously airplanes. It's unbelievable the diversity of what you could do when you're in Amazon. I'm a marketer, and I randomly just applied to a job at Amazon. I was just looking for a job, and I was like, oh, Amazon, they don't do very much marketing. It was Prime Video, actually, that I applied to. And that Amazon wasn't very well known for their marketing, much better now. But like you, I was much better now, since I was there, obviously.
Since you blessed them.
I like you. You can come back. But I just gave it a go. And like you, I just kind of thought, I'll give it a go and see what happens. And like you, they must have liked me because there I was. But it is not an easy preparation process. And all of the folks that are watching this now are watching this because they are in the throes of the preparation process, and they're trying to learn as much as they can and absorb as much as they can. And obviously there's the most enormous amount of information out there. Some of it complete and utter codswallop, as they would. Is that a word? But in the way with the US, by the way, does codswallop mean anything to you, or is that just a British word?
Well, we understand what it means.
Right, you just wouldn't use it.
It's garbage or it's trash. The same difference.
Fine. Bit more creative version of trash, but codswallop, as we would say here. I love my British moments. So I sometimes think, does it make sense to anybody else in the world, some of the things that we say? But some of it complete garbage and some of it good. Hopefully I qualify in the good category. But how did you go about doing your preparation? Because, of course, you're applying for an IT role. So you've got the kind of the behavioral side of things and you've got the kind of the technical side of things. So just give us a sense. How did you do it?
Well, I first immediately reached out to some of my old coworkers from Primera, being either the team lead or my manager, to ask them sort of questions. What would you ask during a tech or behavioral interview, so I can get some of an idea of what to prepare for. I also went straight to YouTube and started looking at different videos, sorting through what wasn't helpful, and then obviously taking notes on what was. And just, I don't know, basically pump myself up for it was probably the biggest thing to kind of help me remember what I had looked up. So. Okay.
And were you, excuse me. So obviously Amazon has the leadership principles. So were you kind of focusing on the leadership principles and trying to get your head around them? And were you coming up with ideas from the past, or were you thinking about ideas from the past and trying to think about the things that you've done and the things that you're proud of, and then maybe trying to apply them? Which kind of way around did you try and prepare for the behavioral questions?
So the recruiter did send me some information, especially on the leadership principles.
Yeah.
And there was a whole little guide. I can't really remember what the link was, but it was a whole little guide, showed all the leadership principles. It told me about the culture at Amazon. So I did make sure I read all of that, just so I'd have a sense of what I'm stepping into. And then also I just focused on one of the leadership principles, the one I figured was most important for my role.
Okay. Okay, just one. That's interesting. That's a very interesting.
Too many. That's why
there is 16. Yeah, there is 16, and it's pretty intense. So, okay, so can you talk me through your actual interview? I didn't plan to ask you this, but in that your preparation sounds like it was. I know one leadership principle sounds a little bit extraordinary to me. I mean, I'm so impressed, by the way. If you focused on one leadership principle and you made it through, that is like unbelievable. I've never heard anyone say that. So, okay, talk me through your interview then. You don't tell me word for word. They said this and I said that. But what was it like? Did you have like 2 early rounds and then the loop? Did you have 1 early round and then the loop? What was the actual kind of stages that you went through?
So I got interviewed by 2 different people at 2 different times. One was about 30 to 45 minute interview, and the other one was about 45 minutes to an hour. I only focused on the one leadership principle because I chose customer obsession. So I figured if it's good enough for Bezos to constantly talk about, it should be good enough to hopefully get me through an interview. And it did. It was all behavioral. They didn't really give me a tech one.
Oh, really? That's interesting. Interesting. I suppose because you've got the tech background on your resume, there's just an assumption there that you know what you're doing.
Oh, yeah. I mean, in the behavioral, they asked me like a couple questions just to kind of get an idea, but it wasn't really a tech one.
Right. Okay. So were they chatting to you about like why you wanted to work at Amazon, or kind of previous projects in the past? What did that look like?
So they asked me basically like behavior, like how would I deal with this? How would I deal with that? What's my outlook on this? Or how do I handle working in a team? That sort of thing. So they even asked me some of my goals. So
okay, that's really interesting. So although they weren't asking you specifically technical questions, it does sound like they were asking you kind of hypotheticals. If you were presented with this particular problem, how would you go about dealing with it? Which is a bit different actually from what the kind of the normal process is, where they would avoid hypothetical questions and ask behavioral questions. Tell me about a time when you had a really annoying British customer who didn't understand how to plug in an Ethernet cable.
There was a mix of that. I did have some of those in the interview.
Right. Cool. So you had one round and then made it through to the next round, and then that was it, kind of job offer after that?
Oh, yeah. Very quickly, too, like 2 days after.
Wow.
So.
This is an extraordinary process, Isaac. I literally have never spoken to anybody who's telling me the narrative that you're telling me. So this is super interesting, because I do say to candidates all of the time, this is kind of how it normally looks, or this is kind of the core of it. But the reality is that people can have very, very different interview experiences. Like you've just described 2 interviews. I know people who have had like 8 interviews. Now, clearly that, that's someone applying at a much more senior level and blah, blah, blah. But there really is no, this is exactly how it is, and this is how it's always going to be. You have to be prepared for the unexpected, I suppose.
Yeah.
So now you're in, and you're 2 months in. Why don't you talk to me about your particular job family? So you're 2 months in and you're prepared for the 1 leadership principle, but now you've been in there for a couple of months. From an IT support perspective, what would you say would be the key leadership principles that either you find yourself leaning into every day, or you think are probably the important ones to be successful in your job?
So customer obsession got me like ball rolling, got me, foot first. But my team, especially my manager, he's been driving 4 other principles that I didn't necessarily think of. Like, sure, I read over them, but like I said, I wasn't really focusing on them. But the other 4 we looked at are learn and be curious. And then, of course, insist on the highest standards. All the ticketing we have to do, all of the communication we have to do, earn trust, and then think big. All 5 of these I've been working on, honestly. It's a lot, right, but I figure little by little, and I should be able to catch up.
Yeah. And, you probably do them without realizing them. And I would suspect that in your interview process, even though you might not have been concentrating on any more than 1 leadership principle, I bet you, whilst you were telling your stories and giving your answers to the questions, you were demonstrating other leadership principles. Because honestly, there's no way you'd have got into Amazon with just being good at customer obsession. I suspect that a bunch of those, earn trust, you're very natural and fun and interesting to talk to and helpful. I reckon they're there already, and it's just a case of recognizing them and building them out. So if people are looking for applying for kind of IT engineering roles, then those would be some good leadership principles to focus your preparation on. Personally, wouldn't recommend just the 1.
Yeah, it works for me. I don't know about anybody else.
Worked for Isaac, and therefore it has merit. I'm not dismissing it, but if you're contacting me and saying, Gigi, what should I do? I'm not going to tell you just focus on customer obsession. Just banana.
Fair enough.
Banana. So you've been in for 2 months. You've got those 5 key leadership principles. So what surprised you the most? Because obviously you kind of probably didn't go into it with a huge amount of expectations, because like I said, it's not like you were particularly targeting Amazon as being your ideal company. But is there anything now that you're on the inside that's made you go, okay, that's a bit surprising. I wasn't expecting that.
Just how cool it is. So before even getting the tech, I worked more labor jobs. So I wasn't really around other people that just loved computers or loved doing computer stuff.
Mm.
So now being here, it's like, wow, I'm not the only nerd, or whoa, I'm not the only one that likes this stuff. Like, this is cool.
Yeah. There are 1.3 million nerds in Amazon. There's no question about it. Every single person you meet, regardless of what department, from the marketers and the PR
All the
people
way up.
that I met, who you'd have think would be the least nerdy people because they're in marketing, and apparently that's, I don't know, glamorous. Not glamorous. All the way to, you know, like you say, the IT guys or the solutions architects, like everybody is a nerd. So if you're a nerd, Amazon is like the mecca for
Oh yeah, you'll be welcome. You'll be in good company.
Oh, that's so cool. Okay, so then what advice do you have then? So again, I know this is something you kind of fell into a little bit. Let's kind of put it that way. But if you were to look back on your process and everything that you went through and everything that you're doing now in your particular role, have you got any advice that there's a whole bunch of people out there, Isaac, who are desperate to get into Amazon and have been applying, and maybe they've applied 3 or 4 times and they've finally got the one interview that they've been chasing for years. So what words of wisdom can you offer these people?
Don't overstress. Like, it is, at the end of the day, it is a job. I mean, it's a great company. I love the people I work with, but it is still a job, just like, in a sense, just like every other job. Like, don't make it or convince yourself that you need to be more than you. Like, just be you. Like, if they can't accept you for you, then okay, I guess it ain't the right place. But everyone I've seen here, they seem very, very open, very welcoming, and very accepting. So don't stress.
Yeah, I think you're right. I always felt that it's the right place for some people and it's not the right place for other people. And it's okay if it's not the right place for you. You know, obviously lots of people don't make it through, and
Right.
and kind of take that as being, you know, a reflection on them and their capabilities. And I often have to say to candidates, sometimes you're the perfect you. You are the very best version of yourself that you can possibly be. And if it didn't go your way, it's not because of you. It's because of things that were just out of your control. And I like what you were saying. It's like you just got to be you, do your best, prepare. But at the end of the day, it's not the end of the world. It's a job.
Right. The sun is still going to shine. You're still going to wake up the next morning. Like, breathe.
Yeah, it's very true. It's very true. So what are your plans after this then, right? So you're in there 2 months. Yeah. Well, what, any big goals? I'm going completely off script. I didn't need to ask you this whatsoever, but you're just so relaxed and chilled about kind of the questions, and we're just tripping our way through the topic. So now I'm going off topic and I'm asking you, like, what are you going to do? What's the next 6 months? Are we clocking in and clocking out? Or there are people that you're like, yeah, he's smart, I'm going to follow him around. What does that look like?
Next 6 months. So I already hooked up with an Amazon mentor. So I've already been talking with him and making goals of where I want to go from this position next. College starts soon, so I'm going for my BA. I still haven't decided between 2, but I have about a month to decide, so no rush.
You can do that at the same time as working, right?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, man, you're going to be busy.
I'm already busy. So.
I'm just saying, and you told me already you have like 2 children and a cat. Like,
yep,
you're gonna,
2 kids, a cat, a wife.
You're going to clone yourself.
Try.
Well, that's awesome. That's amazing.
Oh, yeah. Hopefully in the next 6 months, I'll be a lot closer to moving to the position I want. But for now.
What's the goal? Tell us. Where do you want it? Do you mind telling us where you're aiming for?
All right. So I'm stuck between 2 places right now.
Okay.
My mentor is good to help me with either one. Like, he's like, whatever you want, I'm here for you. But I'm stuck between an ADC engineer, which is what he is, which is more system admin-ish sort of work.
Yeah.
Or just move up in the field I'm already in. So just move up to IT engineer 1. So it's a lot. I don't know yet.
Well, I mean, I'm all for IT engineer one, right? Because they saved my life so many times. It's unbelievable. I gave them Christmas presents, actually.
Oh, I might need to go to that one because I like Christmas presents.
Yeah. Honestly, so in debt to those IT guys who dug me out more times than I'd like to say. So if you want to go down the Christmas present line or the Hanukkah present line or whatever religious festival, if it came along, I was providing chocolates and things. As
long as they put it in my contract, yeah, I'll go for it.
Awesome. Okay, so look, I think we've covered all the ground that I wanted to cover. I've loved talking to you so much.
Thank you.
Honestly, I think that yours is going to be a very different journey to the majority of journeys that I'm going to talk to people about, because it's, you kind of fell into it and the process seemed like relatively easy.
I was surprised when I got in. I was like, what?
There's
no way.
This is not a typical journey, everybody. I just want to make sure that you all understand this, but it happens. And it's really important that people see that there are variations,
diverse ways, yeah.
Exactly. And Isaac's on one extreme, and I'm sure I will talk to other people who tried to get into Amazon for like 10 years and had 6 interviews and failed 6 and finally made it. All of these extremes exist, and what I'm trying to do with this series is show people the diversity, just so that they understand that they have to be prepared for anything. And please God, they have a journey as smooth as yours. Only time will tell.
True.
All right. So I'm going to end up now, but thank you so much for taking the time. And we're connected on LinkedIn now, so I will be keeping an eye on your journey. Let me know how you get on.
Will do.
All right. You take care. Bless you. Take care.
All right. Later.
Bye.
Now, what you need to do is click the link here to claim your free Day One Careers Customer Obsession Taster Course. Watch that and you'll nail every customer obsession question asked of you in your Amazon interview. Or if you want to do that a little bit later, why don't you check out more here of our incredible insights and advice on Amazon interview preparation.